talking about affinity groups. Who knows what an affinity group is? Great. Affinity group is just a group of people you trust, that you share a common political or tactical vision with. We're going to roll in those groups. We're going to go from the meetup point to one of the two. Each zone has two blockade points. So we're going to who knows what civilian is? Great. So yeah, civilian is just we blend into the crowd and then we show up at the blockade. So we're going to do that. We're going to hold the space. Those who want to commit to a civil disobedience will stay and take an arrest. Those who want to keep moving will disperse into the 99 revolutions, which is just a series of mobile tactics of swarming into an intersection, then leaving, hitting a bank lobby, then leaving. The idea being that we want to throw these parties, these lobby parties, these intersection parties that show the world that we want to see in the middle of the world that we don't want. Okay, so we're just going to go zone by zone, show you where the meetup points are, show you what, there's different intersections. Some of them are on wide streets, some of them are on narrow streets. Some of the buildings are big, some are small. I'm going to try and give you as good a cross-section of the entire map as I can. Okay, so there's going to be some downtime. Be patient. I'll try and gather us all up with the mic check when there's something important to look at, okay? You might be aware that the New York Police Department, as we're seeing, is very aggressive.
The other thing to keep in mind, as we saw back there, is that sometimes the cops will encourage you to do things that are illegal. You want to be aware of that and trust your instincts.
They're allowed to lie to you!
So, when I was in Chicago, for instance, there were a bunch of, for NATO, I don't know how many of you guys were there. There were a bunch of cops packing the streets. Some of the streets were closed down. They were like, yeah, go ahead, walk down those streets. I was like, no. And that is good, because when I saw somebody try to walk down those streets, they got mobbed. So be aware of what's going on. Don't necessarily trust authority. Be aware of the law and be aware of what you're doing. And be skeptical.
Go. Who here knows hand signals that we use on a march? All right, great. So, because maybe we can start using some of these, right? When we're talking about let's go left, let's go right. What would it look like if we wanted to go right? Yeah. All right, and left. Cool. What if we just want to turn this march around? Cool, but we're not gonna. Right on. Hey, so many people on the walking tour. This is fantastic. What's really cool about our plan is they can know about it, and it's still gonna work.
Yeah! One of the successes of our movement is the fact that we've been able to make the LAPD or the NYPD respond to us, and they often shut down locations for us.
So that's cool, right? That's judo or aikido, right? Use the weight of the opponent to do your work for you. If there are barricades all throughout the district tomorrow, and our goal is to disrupt business as usual.
We did it.
We've already done half our work before we show up. A lot of these firms are sending emails to their employees telling them to stay home.
Stay home!
Yeah. 1-0.
Right.
1-0. So I think that's important to think about when we see police and we see barricades. The most immediate instinct is to be triggered and angry and want to fight back. But I think if you can understand, they're doing that. That's great. They're doing something for us. What is the space that's left for me? All too often we contest police space when we in fact have our own space that's not theirs, and we want to do something in their space when they're already doing it for us. I'm just buying time here. This all has nothing to do with the actual tour. Just tell me if it's useful or... Okay, here we go. We're going left here. Chase Bank.
See you tomorrow.
I know we have lots of feelings about change, but for now, I want to study it a little bit. Look at the doors. Okay, you've got 2 hinge doors and 1 revolving door. You've got this big awning and a wide sidewalk in front of it. Right? You've got, this lobby doesn't have a vestibule with ATMs between it and the larger lobby. Many of them do. Okay, so Yeah, while we're on the subject of scooters, scooters aren't there to help you. Contrary to the statement that they're there to help make sure you're safe.
Protect and serve.
Yeah, a thing that scooters will often do is if you're moving in a fairly big march and you get to an intersection and you pause because you lose the light, they'll come in and then they'll split the march. What are some tactics for dealing with the march getting split?
Stay on both sides.
Running around.
Okay, going around the scooters. That's right. What's another one?
Block the scooter.
What, the scooters?
Block.
Right, you could see that the scooters are trying to come in and cut off the march, and some people could make a quick blockade of that. Those people should probably know the risks of doing that action before they do it. Okay.
Also stay together.
Right, and that's the biggest thing. You can stop that from ever happening by keeping the march tight. Who has the biggest responsibility for keeping the march together?
We do.
Yeah, it's a little bit more tricky than that. The people in the front of the march, if they go slow, can help keep the march together. Problem is, people in the front of the march get fucking pumped up and want to go and they don't realize they're walking fast. A nice trick you can do is take all that energy that you want to put into this and put it into just going up and down, and you feel kind of badass that way too. Okay, and this is a thing to think about as well. If we're in a march like this, often if you're big enough, you don't need to obey the walk signal. They will not enforce it. If you are small enough, you might get snatched for that. So to keep yourself from getting split, sometimes you have to ignore the walk signal. But you want to all be on the same page about whether that's what you want to do or not, because it only works if everybody's on the same page. This is One Liberty Plaza. This is where the offices of Wells Fargo Advisors are. Yeah, you might know them from such things as...
Occupied building. It closed down 46 schools and profited from it. Wells Fargo.
They are also the primary investor in the second largest private prison company in the nation called GHI. That ain't right. So, if you look across the street, we're getting towards Liberty Square, which is what we call Zuccotti Park here in New York. Oh, cool. So, this is our friendly Bank of America. And yes, it is bad for America. You might notice there is only one door. They are both hinged doors. The lobby is on the second floor. There is an escalator that leads up to it. That's interesting. Okay, this is Zuccotti Park. I also want to call your attention though, this is Liberty Street. And Liberty Street goes straight to the Fed and it turns into Maiden Lane. Alright, so Liberty Street is one way that you can get from all the way on the west to all the way on the east of the whole zone. But it's confusing because the names change. And there's a dotted line. Okay, yeah, so for folks that haven't been here, this is our beloved park with these ugly, ugly barricades. Maybe someday I'll be gone. Yeah.
You know, that never stops NYPD.
I know that as you go, that you actually get to hear a lot of things about what's legal, what's not can and can't do. There's some people who don't see these barricades, and there's no here.
Adrian Ackerman speaking truth to power in New York City with Truth to Power News, representing Occupy Portland on this lovely walkthrough of the targeted zones for tomorrow's September 17th S17 actions. Occupy Wall Street has put together this walking tour as well as this awesome map. It's showing all the different zones, the education zone, the 99% zone, and all the demonstrations that are going to be happening therein. I don't know if you can see, but we are having a police escort. It's been with us for the entirety of this very peaceful, very calm walking tour.
Okay, on our right.
And we're going over tactics, how to communicate with hand signals through the march, and different barricades and things to consider, how to get through them. We've heard reports. There's a Pace University email that was sent out and has been widely circulated. And it indicates that there's going to be security checkpoints where people have to show ID tomorrow. So again, the strategy is to dress business casual and go out on the street, blend in, swarm, release, it's just going to be amazing. Speaking truth to power, this is Adrian Ackerman.
Okay, cool. So you got these things, you got the gold things, you got the hydraulic barricade, you've got the little booth, and if you can see down on the other end, that's down at William Street, you got the same thing, you got those silver cars. There's a silver car parked at one of the other checkpoints too. You can see these little gold statues. Those are actually like on a rotating like a circular revolving stage.
Interesting.
Like they have on Broadway shows.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's some crazy shit. You'll also notice that they've got the middle of the street where the stock exchange is.
Yeah.
That's normally an open pedestrian plaza. That'll probably be barricaded out all the way to where that car is. This will probably be barricaded all the way to the street.
Yeah.
This is the craziest intersection
In the world.
that there is, right? Like it's like whenever we do an action, there's like expect rows of horses, cops in riot gear, and a very, very narrow channel to get through. Okay? This intersection is already spoken for by ACT UP. Hey, do you know it? Folks know ACT UP? Yeah. We got 500 folks from ACT UP chapters around the country coming here to sit down and do a civil disobedience.
Does everybody here know why this is called Wall Street?
Tell us. I don't remember the history.
Yes, so, yes, as our friend just explained, this was a wall that was put up by the Dutch to keep the Algonquins out of their native land. It's also the birthplace of the slave trade. Here, the first slaves were sold on this street, right where George Washington took his inauguration in front of Federal Hall. Some people don't know there's a lot of letters of George Washington's. He was very, very distressed about the whole issue of slavery and was not a proponent of it. But across from where he was, the slave trade was beginning. So this wall is it's the wall of colonialism.
Yeah.
Like this is a manifestation of that.
That's right. A wall built by slaves to keep Native Americans out of a colonized land so that people could trade slaves and make money off of exploiting the land. That's what this land is.
Land
Okay?
of the
So here we
free.
go, let's keep moving. And that, wait, you guys aren't gonna come say hello to the occupiers on the front line?